Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani here. Today's video is going to be on nutrients to help support serotonin levels. We're going to dive in here. And before we do, please put your comments down below. Let me know things that you've done in the past to help improve serotonin or mood or well-being, whatever strategies. Really curious to know. All right, so before we dive in, just to kind of highlight, we did a live podcast on this whole topic just an hour or two ago. We'll put the link down below, so if you want to engage in that longer podcast, feel free. That way you can get more of the total story. I'm going to give you a more abridged version here now. So serotonin is a really important neurotransmitter. It's a building block its building block comes from protein and amino acids, in particularly 5-HTP and tryptophan. But serotonin has a lot of important roles in regards to mood, well-being, sleep, stress reduction, happiness. So all these things play a major role in helping you feel good. And if we have inadequate serotonin levels, that's going to create a whole bunch of things. And then once you start having sleep issues or mood issues or stress issues, then stress starts to hit you a little more. You don't quite sleep as well. You don't adapt to or deal with stress. You're not quite as resilient as well. And then a lot of times you're just not going to heal and recover well either, because serotonin is a precursor to melatonin, and melatonin helps you sleep, and it's also a very powerful antioxidant, right? A lot of good benefits there. So the first thing is we know some of the low serotonin symptoms. Serotonin's made from tryptophan and or 5-HTP, which is 5-hydroxytryptophan. Now, I personally like using 5-HTP better because there's a enzyme that's kind of a governor on tryptophan converting downstream into serotonin. And there's a governor where it comes to tryptophan converting downstream to serotonin. 5-HTP kind of bypasses that enzyme, the 5-hydroxylase enzyme, so you can therapeutically bump up serotonin a little bit better with 5-HTP. So we use 5-HTP and B6, very important, and that can really significantly improve serotonin levels. Anywhere between 100 to 600 milligrams per day can be very helpful. There are important cofactors that we'll also add in. B6 is an essential B vitamin that helps with the synthesis. B6 is very important. May also want to throw in there B12 or methylcobalamin, ideally methylated, because these neurotransmitters need to be methylated. B12 makes a huge difference. In the podcast, we talk about a study where they use antidepressants. Not that I'm a huge fan of those, but they found that antidepressant plus a methylated B12 improved depression symptoms by 20%. So we know B12 and that methylation process is very important for your neurotransmitters. Also, we can throw folate in there because folate is really, it kind of works like brother and sister with B12. And I mentioned B6. So B6, B12, and folate, or B9 for short for folate, are really important. Those are kind of your key methyl groups in regards to your B vitamins. They have a lot to do with methylation. And then, of course, vitamin C can be very important because the adrenals play a major role in serotonin and stress, because the fight or flight nervous system response, that sympathetic fight or flight response, the adrenals play a big role in making cortisol and or adrenaline to help manage or deal with or adapt to that response. So if we're chronically firing our adrenals, whether it's cortisol and or adrenaline, and we start to have HPA axis issues, meaning brain adrenal communication feedback issues, that can make it hard for us to kind of calm down from stress and or even ramp up to deal with stress. So it's kind of like it being really cold out. You put your heater on and you can't quite mount the heater. You can't quite mount enough of a response to create heat and warm your house up, or vice versa if it's cold. Because we need to be able to adapt and modulate to our environment. So we need healthy adrenal function. And so a lot of times I'll add in things like various adaptogens, like rhodiola is excellent, ginseng, ashwagandha, eleuthero. These are great adaptogenic herbs that help us modulate and deal with stress better. And then, of course, good healthy diet's essential, because inflammatory foods, food allergens, processed junk, grains, refined foods are going to stress out our body. The problem with refined processed foods like grains and sugar, they can, in the short run, increase our serotonin and allow us to feel good. So when people say, oh, I'm an emotional eater, what are you doing? You are essentially trying to artificially boost your brain chemicals up with junky food. It's like whipping a tired horse to perform better. It's like trying to drink coffee at midnight to get work done. It's going to just throw off your sleep and you're going to be tired the next day. So, of course, there were always, I call them constructive vehicles versus destructive vehicles. Destructive vehicles provide a short-term gain, long-term destruction if they're habitual. Constructive vehicles, not quite as a impactful short-term gain, but long-term restoration, long-term healing, long-term performance enhancement. That's good digestion, eating good protein, balanced blood sugar. And we can utilize amino acids like 5-HTP, B6, folate, B12, vitamin C, adaptogenic herbs. These are very helpful in modulating our stress response. They also modulate how we perceive stress, right? The more you can perceive stress better, you don't mount as much of a cortisol or adrenaline response because your perception to it is much better. And of course, things like magnesium can also be very helpful. Magnesium kind of plays into GABA. GABA has a major role at it's the inhibitory neurotransmitter. It's the downshifter. It helps hit the brake. So things like GABA by itself, things like L-theanine are excellent. Things like magnesium are excellent. Also, adaptogenic herbs, kind of like passion flower, can be very helpful, or valerian can be very calming. Even things like kava or even CBD could also have a very calming effect. So there's a couple different things we can throw in there. When I'm working with patients, I'm always saying to myself, what's the root cause? Let's set the foundation, make sure the root cause is supported. Let's make sure we're able to break down and digest and absorb all the nutrients, make sure there's no underlying bottlenecks in regards to low enzyme, low acid, gut infections. And let's make sure we're managing our lifestyle stressors. We're doing our best to sleep good, food quality is good, hydration's good. I make sure those foundations are solid, and then we can kind of get in there with other supplements and nutrients to help support those pathways. And if we want to do testing for neurotransmitters, I'll do things like that are organic acid-based tests that will look at a lot of the metabolites for these neurotransmitters, whether it's serotonin, we'll use 5-hydroxyindoloacetate, 5-HIIA, or we'll use vanilmandrolate, which is a marker for adrenaline, or homovanillate, which is a marker for dopamine. And again, dopamine is a precursor to adrenaline, so it goes phenylalanine, and then it goes tyrosine, and then it goes dopamine, and then it goes L-dopa, and then it can go down epinephrine, norepinephrine, or adrenaline, noradrenaline. It's the same thing. And so these are catecholamines, and they can convert a lot of these upstream neurotransmitters down. And there's some overlap in dopamine and serotonin symptoms. So a lot of people that think they have serotonin problems, they may actually have a dopamine problem. So it's good to get tested as well. It's good to look at the symptoms, make sure the foundation's set, and then you can dive in deeper to look at a lot of these nutrients. Now, in my supplement line, we use things like Brain Replete's an excellent 10-to-1 ratio of tyrosine or dopamine to serotonin. That's a good kind of combo product. Has all the precursor nutrients too. Also, I'll use a product called Serotonin Replete, which is excellent. That has 5-HTP with B6, and then I'll have a product called Dopa Replete, which is just a tyrosine product, which is nice for lower-end dopamine issues. And then for higher-end dopamine was a product I have called Dopa Replete Plus, and that helps bump up dopamine more. It's got macuna purine in there, plus a couple other compounds that are very helpful. I think I have it on my desk right here. Yeah, right here. Dopa Replete Plus, and that has the L-dopa, a little bit of tyrosine, EGCG in there, and of course B6, very important. So again, I'll put links and products and stuff below so you guys have access to it. We'll put the link for the podcast as well. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Make sure you try to apply something. If you're overwhelmed, feel free, reach out to a good functional medicine doctor near you. If you want to reach out to myself, I'm available worldwide. I'll put a link below. My staff's available to help you all out. Hope you enjoyed today's content. Make sure you subscribe, comments below. You guys have a phenomenal day. Take care, y'all.